there's a couple parts of the story that I think are still developing tonight that I'm super interested in. One is this report from reporter Elena Plott at The Atlantic magazine. You see the title there, The Mystery of Rudy Giuliani's Vienna Trip. Now, you might have seen the news today about these arrests, that when these guys who had been working with Rudy Giuliani on the Ukraine scheme, his supposed clients, when they were arrested last night, they were actually arrested at the Dulles Airport in the D.C. suburbs. According to the U.S. attorney who unsealed their indictment today, these guys were about to leave the country with one-way tickets. Those tickets were reportedly going to take them to Frankfurt, Germany. Now, whether they were planning on just stopping in Germany or continuing on a further flight from there, it's not totally clear. But for his part, according to Elena Plott, Mr. Giuliani says that Vienna is where his clients were going. When they were arrested by the FBI last night, they might have had initial tickets to Frankfurt, but where their ultimate destination was Vienna, Austria. Rudy Giuliani also told Elena Plott from Atlantic magazine that he too was on his way to Vienna, Austria. I mean, this indictment was apparently drawn up by the grand jury yesterday, so these arrests could take place last night. It was then unsealed this morning so we could all see it. There is some reporting today that suggests that the timing of the grand jury indictment, the timing of the arrests, was driven by the fact that these guys were going to the airport, to the international terminal, and planning to leave on a foreign trip from which nobody knew if they would ever return. I mean, that's interesting in its own right, just in terms of like the cops and robbers of this, right? Just in terms of the way the wheels of justice turn. Oh, we've been working on this, better get the indictment done, better get the arrests done tonight before they get on those planes, right? I think that detail may also go some distance toward dispelling any conspiracy theorizing about why these arrests happen right now and not on any other day. It looks like the reason they happened right now and not on any other day is because these guys were about to leave the country. But if, as Rudy Giuliani tells the Atlantic magazine, these guys were going to Vienna, if that's where they were leaving the country to go, if Rudy Giuliani himself was on his way to Vienna, why Vienna? Well, I don't know. But Vienna has surfaced one other time in this scheme for which the president is being impeached. Do you remember this? A couple of weekends ago, after the impeachment proceedings against President Trump were announced, Rudy Giuliani went on network television and started waving around this damning document, which he said was like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and he was the happiest leprechaun ever. This was the much heralded dirt against Joe Biden that this whole scheme had been designed to elicit from the government of Ukraine. He was like, this is it, I got it. What that document was, that Rudy Giuliani was waving around on TV, was a sworn statement from a former Ukrainian official who had sort of left office in a cloud of ethics allegations. That sworn statement is basically all the accusations that Giuliani and Trump have been wanting to make about Joe Biden. It's the whole point of why they enacted this scheme. This is the thing for which they can smear Joe Biden, they think, to help Trump get reelected in 2020. Look, here's all the terrible things we want you to believe Joe Biden did that Ukraine ought to be investigating. Right. Well, that sworn statement, which is all of this made-up stuff about Joe Biden, that was obtained by Rudy Giuliani from a man named Dmitry Firtash. It says right on the front page of that document that it was obtained from Dmitry Firtash. Dmitry Firtash lives in Vienna, Austria, and he never gets to leave. He always has to stay in Vienna, Austria. Why is that? Because that's where he's under house arrest. Dmitry Firtash is a Ukrainian billionaire, a favorite of the Kremlin, who is a billionaire because of the Kremlin. He is described by U.S. prosecutors as an upper echelon associate of Russian organized crime. Firtash was arrested several years ago in Vienna after the U.S. government requested his arrest because they wanted him extradited to this country to face trial on a multi-billion-dollar bribery scam. He has been fighting that extradition, trying to avoid getting sent back to the U.S. to go to trial on those charges. Within the last few months, Dmitry Firtash added to his legal representation team a couple of less-known U.S. lawyers, people who are less known as lawyers and more known as people who go on Fox News and scream about the witch hunt. He has added these pro-Trump lawyers to his team. And as he is fighting this effort to have himself, fighting this effort to have him extradited to the U.S. to face trial, Mr. Firtash has started generating these anti-Joe Biden documents apparently out of thin air, these accusations against Joe Biden, and they have been provided to Rudy Giuliani and company to use as, PR ammunition against Biden. The problem with getting this stuff from Dmitry Firtash, though, is that he is under house arrest, and so it's not like he can deliver. You kind of have to go to him to pick this stuff up. And I don't know, maybe there are lots of other people involved in this scheme who happen to be in Vienna, Austria, who need in-person visits from Rudy Giuliani and his Tweedledum and Tweedledee, right, as they try to effectuate this scheme on behalf of President Trump and to benefit Trump's 2020 campaign chances. Maybe Vienna is full of people who are helping out with this. But if you step back from this just a second, right, to see who has been working with the President of the United States on this scheme for which he is now being impeached, I mean, Rudy Giuliani admits that he has been working on this scheme with Dmitry Firtash, this guy who is under house arrest, fighting extradition to the United States, labeled an upper echelon associate of Russian organized crime, wanted on multi-billion-dollar bribery charges. Giuliani admits he's been working with him and getting his best anti-Biden stuff from him. He also admits that he has been working with Paul Manafort, who is a federal inmate, the president's campaign chairman, currently serving a 7+ year sentence in federal prison on fraud and conspiracy charges. When Rudy Giuliani's clients, who were arrested last night, turned up for their initial court appearance today in the Eastern District of Virginia, they were represented in court today by Paul Manafort's lawyers. I guess they just happened to be in the neighborhood. And we know from Giuliani's own account of how this scheme has been run that the other people with whom he has been working the most closely on this issue are these two guys who are now under arrest and sitting in a Virginia jail. So it's the felon who's in prison, the indicted guy who's fighting extradition, and the two guys who tonight are in federal jail in Virginia. That is who Rudy Giuliani has assembled as his dream team to work out the scheme for the President of the United States to enlist a foreign country's help for his re-election bid. I mean, you couldn't ask for a more impressive group of corruption fighters, right?